Howdy y'all, I am Ice Gold, and today we are here to talk about every single school's biggest strength in Wiz. And, you know, every school, like, they've got their pros and cons. But today we'll be focusing on the strengths of each one. I do plan to make a counterpart where I go over the weaknesses of each school. Core and Vortec made a video about that recently, and that's kind of where I got the idea from, so shout outs to them. But yeah, so let's start with fire, of course, because that's the wizard I'm on, so fire's biggest strength, in my opinion, has got to be how they work with teams. And so what I mean by that is there's a hat out there somewhere. It's gonna be in my bank, I'm sure, but it is called, if it would ever load, okay, so the hat is called Dahlia's Smoldering Hairdo, and not the level 20 version, but the level anything above 20, I believe. And basically what it gives is it gives this Incendiate card, and for 6 pips you can destroy all damage over time effects on the target, on all targets, by the way, because this does apply to, this just applies to everybody. Like, it is literally everything on the board. So if you or your teammates have overtimes, they're getting incendiated too. But you can see here that it deals 200% of their damage just for doing that. So as you see, 6 pips, and there's a very popular strategy out called scincindiate, SC and then incendiate, because it makes use of the spell called Scald. And this is a 5 pip overtime. It'll do 525 fire damage over 3 rounds to all enemies. It is 5 pips, so very, very easy to use just on the first round. So it is very, very easy. So if you have this and your teammate has a Decathlon Deck 5 or higher, and the Incendiate hat, then you can very easily just one round most of the content in this game. Like, if you were to Scald first round and like you had 2 other teammates blading you up, that sort of deal, or even putting feints down, like that's a common strategy too. It's like, if like one person will Scald, 2 people will feint, and then the last person will Incendiate. So that is a way to easily one round just about anything in the game. I mean, obviously it's not going to work on everything. There are things with like really high health. There's things like the Didgeridoo Dragon in the Nightmare Dungeon out in Wallaru that will shift overtimes. But yeah, I mean, it's still a very, very strong card, and I would say that this is Fire's biggest strength, because Fire's already got high damage, of course, high DPP on their cards. Damage over times just in general get extra damage added to them, just because they are dots after all. And yeah, I mean, overall, just it is very, very easy to just like throw out a Scald, or even something like a Glimpse of Infinity. I have it on the B path right now, but if we look at it, Top Path Glimpse of Infinity at tier 5 does just under 1,000 damage split over 2 dots. So technically speaking, if you were to just throw this out there and your teammate, like on the first round, and your teammate was to Incendiate, you would be looking at 1,980 base damage on one target, which can be very, very strong, to say the absolute least. And that's before any multipliers, of course. So throw in, your 235 damage set, your criticals, throw in extra blades or feints, and you're looking at like 10,000 damage plus. So that's a whole thing. But yeah, overall, Fire works very, very well in teams, and Scald Incendiate is like very widely known for a reason. Ice's biggest strength, to absolutely nobody's surprise. They added this teleporter? Okay, I'm just gonna use it just to look at it. But yeah, Ice's biggest strength, to absolutely nobody's surprise, is our immense amount of resist. This is the usual set that I run for PvP, and with the Bracify Jewel on, I have 85 universal resist. I am running a hat with shield pin, but technically speaking, like, if I were to throw on the Reaver hat right now, I could get 96 resist to Storm and still have 175 damage, which is immense. Like, having those kind of stats is pretty insane. And so just ice can really tank a lot, and I did a budget walkthrough on an ice not too long ago, as many of y'all know if you've been watching the channel for a while, and on that character I found it honestly very easy to solo some bosses, like the Morganth fight, for example. That was one that I thought was going to be way harder than it actually was, but what ended up happening was I was just so tanky, because resist even at that point in the game is high, so, but I mean, I was tanky, and that allowed me to very, very easily win the fight against 4 20,000 HP bosses, and I barely even had to heal that much. So that is a very, very good thing about playing ice. It is very, very good at soloing and just having that kind of high resist. That is exactly how we do it. High health, although of course for some ungodly reason Wiz made life the highest health school instead of keeping it as ice, which it had been for so many years, since launch as a matter of fact. So just some decision on a whim in 2022 is why ice is no longer the highest health school, but we still have the second highest health, and as you can see, it's still pretty high. I could very easily get even higher HP. Like, if I were to throw on, like, I'm just going to throw on the highest health pieces of gear that I have. The Reaver hat, okay, it looks like I've already got the best robe, and then throw on, like, the Reaver or the Avatar boots. They're both the same, and then, do I have any... Technically speaking, I could throw an extra 735 HP onto this compared to this, so, I mean, we'll still run this. And then, what else do I have? Is it going to be Reaver? No, it's going to be Reaver for sure because of the square. And that's right. That looks about right. Reaver ring. I don't have any pets to give HP, but is that 215 the most? Looks like it. Okay, so... how much health do I have? 15,758 with stats like this. It's like, I haven't even, like, taken it too seriously either. Like, I could, if I made a health setup, I could easily push, like, 19,000 HP. So, just that, I mean, ice is just very, very good at, you know, staying alive and keeping our HP up, keeping our resist up, and just being very sustainable, and that, I think, matters quite a bit. Well, I tried to teleport to Storm Rivet Hall, and the guy I teleported to is in a battle, so here we are, I guess, but Storm's biggest strength is going to be its damage. This is a, I think, Colossal Enchanted Berry Surprise, which does 250 base damage, and that just did 4,600. And gave me a big hug for, you know, like, 1,400 healing. I don't even think I crit on myself. Like, to say the absolute least, Storm's damage is through the roof, and that is really just a hallmark of Storm's, I guess, identity. And so, Storm is very, very good at doing just a lot of damage really, really quick, and it is a glass cannon school, and once we get to the weakness video, we will definitely go into that, but Storm being the glass cannon is understandable. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of that. Just, I mean, the immense amounts of damage that Storm can put out, because, I mean, Storm has, of course, the easiest time at getting to the maximum Pierce and damage values. There is no Pierce max at the moment, of course, but damage, in terms of damage, Storm is king, as is, like, regular, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, not really much else to say. Storm is just kind of that guy when it comes to doing damage. I mean, you're seeing like 250 base damage spells doing 4,600. Like, it's pretty wild how much damage Storm can do. And that, honestly, like, Storm, I won't say is the best solo school, but it absolutely can make quick work of a lot of bosses, like even in the second arc worlds, like, you know, Celestia, Avalon, Azteca, you know, it's like the bosses with higher HP, you know, it's still, Storm still does well against them if they can kill first, which easier said than done in some cases, but still, you know, yeah, the point stands. The Myth School's biggest strength is kind of an interesting one, because I'm gonna say this much right now. Myth's main identity, like from launch, was the Minion School, and of course those are not very useful, as we well know, past like the first arc and all that. But Myth, honestly, and this came with a massive buff in the summer 2020 update, but Myth's strength, honestly, is damage. Again, just like Storm. It's kind of wild to think about that, but you know, if you think about it, if I could ever find my card, it's okay. So yeah, you see here, this is Orthrus, right? Does 745 AoE damage. This is like the strongest AoE spell that the strongest 7-pip AoE spell rather that you get at level 48. And while technically Fire Dragon does more, it's got the damage over time attached to it, and enchants get cut in half as a result of that. So Myth's damage output, honestly, is very, very high, because Myth is already a quote-unquote damage school. Because, you know, if we look at this is my main Myth set, you know, 237 damage, that's the cap. Yeah, something like that. And then it's got, honestly, decent resist. Myth's stats are very, very good. And, of course, Myth's Pierce is very good as well. They made Myth a Pierce school as well. And so, you know, Myth, just very, very good at dealing damage in the higher level worlds. Because Storm really thrives in, you know, like Arc 2 and 3. It is a little fragile and can struggle against some Arc 4 bosses, but in those two arcs, you know, they're still good. Myth, on the other hand, has an easier time questing through Arc 4 and what we're about to see with Arc 5. Because Myth, you know, once mobs start to get resist and universal resist and all that, like they did with Novus and Lemuria to a degree with some of them, having that Pierce stat is how Myth pulls ahead, because Myth just innately has that. And hitting the damage cap as well is just very, very good for the school. And, you know, Myth already has Orthrus. And, you know, toss a Frenzy in there, and there you go. This is a perfect 7-card deck. Tatzelworm Terror, also like a decent Shad spell. You know, it's not the greatest, I will say that. It loses a lot of damage for the Confuse effect. But, you know, Orthrus, very, very good AoE. Tatzelworm Terror, very, very good AoE as well, even though it has a chance to do less damage than Orthrus, but it also can do much more, so that's pretty cool too. And then Drop Air is also a good first round AoE. I believe the max tier does 455, I could be wrong there. Drop Air Fury, yeah, 455 at the moment. And once it gets its next upgrade, it'll probably go to 460 or 465, stay tuned for that in the fall. But yeah, Myth definitely is in a very, very good position right now when it comes to PvE. It is just like, its stats are very, very good, and its gear is very, very good. So Myth definitely in a very good spot, and its strength genuinely is damage, just like Storm, although it does it better in the 4th arc and on. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Life is the school with the most HP now, for some reason, but Life really does make the most of that, because Life's biggest strength is sustainability. And Life, of course, is the healing class, always has been, and I mean, Life is just very, very good at healing. There are sets out there that get your outgoing healing boost to like 220 something. I mean, it is kind of insane, and Life, of course, does have cards like Pigsy in its arsenal. Of course, Top Path is much more useful in PvE compared to Bottom Path, but even though like Bottom Path, it's still pretty good, you know, gets over 1,000, something like that, just like 1055 at max tier on the Bottom Path, but you know, still, it's a thing, I guess. But yeah, I mean, Life's like heal per pip is immense. I mean, it is, from a PvPer's perspective, it really needs to come down, if I'm being so honest, because heals are the highest value hanging effect in the game. Healing, as you can see here, I mean, 8 pips for a rebirth for 2,205 before any multipliers. Like, imagine that with a 220% outgoing healing set. It's like, it does all that, and it clears traps for blades. I mean, it is just like, Life is just very, very good at keeping things alive, and that, I'm sure, is intentional. I mean, you know, you have things like regenerate. I mean, like, just look at how much that does. 5 pips, and it's healing you for, you know, 1,660 HP at max tier. Like, that's kind of crazy. Although, of course, you do have to slave away at Beast Moon for a long time. But anyway, Life's also got But like life is just that guy when it comes to healing. I mean, it's just like, it's so good at that. Like, I kind of don't really know how else to describe it. I mean, life is just the sustainability class, and like people doing Nuzlocks like doing life playthroughs just because life school has the best chance of getting all the way to like through Dragonspire and all that, just because heals are what they are. Like this card right here, Sprite Swarm, I see people use it with like anywhere between tier 2 and tier 5 down here. It's healing them for like 1700 to 1900 healing with 80% outgoing stats. So it's like life and its heals are very overvalued, but that is one of life's, that just is life's biggest strength right now. And yep, overall, just not really much else to say on it. I mean, life is just sort of cracked like that at healing, and then of course, you know, Satyr has been in the game just forever. This is a staple. 860 healing, 990 healing for 4 pips on the treasure card. It is very, very easy to use this now just because of school pips if you're not a life wizard, but even if you are, you know, you can still make pretty good use of this. So overall, I mean, life is just, it is like the sustainable class. Like, I have never had a problem soloing on my life wizard, because even life's damage spells are pretty strong. I mean, look at that, 660 to 700 to 20 on a 7 pipper. That's pretty nuts. So yeah, I mean, life is just a strong school right now. That's all I really gotta say. I frequently refer to death as the Thanos stats school because, take a look. This is pretty wild. Do I even have the right pet on? No, I don't. But if I were to throw on the right pet, wherever that is, where did it go? Okay, so here we go. This pet right here. Look at all this. Look at all these stats. That's crazy work. I mean, honestly, did I even like change anything when I switched pets? I didn't, did I? No, I really didn't, but anyway. Look at this. This is 4 short of the damage cap, and look at this resist. 64 universal with 76 to storm. Bro. And like perfect accuracy, well over it. I mean, if you get mantled, like, Death has a really easy time questing in the later worlds because of that. Like, there's so many mantles in Arc 4. And the Pierce isn't even bad either. I mean, 46 is pretty good, like, all things considered. And so yeah, I mean, Death's biggest strength, like, stats are one of its biggest strengths, but it's how they use them with things like drains. And drains are always going to be Death's biggest strength, because this card right here, this Scarecrow, 630 drain damage, half of that goes to health. I mean, Death is the most sustainable school right now, in terms of, like, efficiency, I guess, is the best way that I can really put it, because, you know, Death has its drains, and life, of course, can heal a bunch, but, you know, Death is just very sustainable. Like, the newer players might not know, but before the spring update in 2022, so there was about a 6-ish month. No, not even that. It was like 4 or 5 months, but there's like a 4 or 5-ish month period where the Hall of Heroes in Lemuria. Actually, no, I think it was longer. It was like an 8-ish month period. I think it might have been the summer when Hall of Heroes got changed, but there's about an 8-ish month period in, like, after the release of Lemuria, where the 8v1 was like very, very hard and not soloable. I mean, fleeing was a cornerstone of the main farming strat for it. It's like that's how crazy it was. But there was only ever one person in recorded history that soloed the final fight of Lemuria, the 8v1 in the Hall of Heroes, and that was Faeriequeens. And he did it on a Death Wizard, because you look at things like this, you see just like the kinds of stats that it gets. I mean, like, dude, like what if I put on like all of my highest resist gear right now? Like, what if I just did that? That's 16 res. Shabalba boots, of course. But yeah, I mean, Death just gets so much resist. It is just nuts at the stats that Death can get. I mean, this is 78 resist. Like, do I have any extra shield pins? Throw in another storm resist pin to the Great Private Eye's Hat. If we look at that, 90 resist to storm with 220 death damage, and still perfect accuracy for things like Scarecrow, and really just Scarecrow. you need 20 for the Shads, and of course 45 Pierce. Pip chance falls a little bit, but still, you know, I mean, it is Death stats being as insane as they are make these drains so much better, because Faerieque, you know, when he was soloing Hall of Heroes, like, he was leaning on things like Call of Cthulhu, of course Scarecrow, and they did a ton of damage, and they kept him alive because of the drain function, and that really and truly was how he did it. It's like he didn't rely on anything too flashy to solo the hardest fight in the entire game. He just went in there and used a bunch of drains, and it worked. That's not really much else to say about it. So, I mean, Death's biggest strength, again, is and always will be its drain spells. Its stats come in a very close second, though. I mean, let's just be real here. Well, last but certainly not least is the Balance School. And Balance, this is a tough one, but I want to say that Balance's biggest strength is how good it is at working with teams. It is just, I mean, I said the same for Fire, but in a totally different way for Balance, because Balance has so many of these universal buff spells. I mean, you look at Blade Storm. This is a plus 20% blade to the next damage spell for all friends. Balance Blade, plus 25% to the next damage spell. Of course, that's a single target, but Balance is very, very, very good, and I mean, it works so well in teams for a completely different reason than compared to Fire. Because Balance is like, if you're doing Scald Incendiate, like I said for Fire, like a Balance Wizard is going to be such a big help there, because a Balance Wizard can put on, I mean, of course anybody can put on a Feint, but, you know, Balance can just buff you up so much, and it's like, if you were to use something like a Rain of Fire, I don't think I have any of those, but Rain of Fire, Path B, I'll just toss it up on screen right now. You can just kind of see. It's like, imagine if a Life Wizard goes in there and uses a Rebirth for 3 heal overtimes, and then the Fire uses, or like the first Fire uses a Rain of Fire, and then the Balance is just sitting there spamming like a bunch of different Balance Blades, like 3 or 4 or 5 even different Balance Blades, depending on how many like sharpens and item cards you have, but like 5 of these, give or take like 4 of these, actually maybe 5 of these if you run an Opossum pet, but like another 5 of these, maybe about 4 of these actually if you're running Opossum. But Balance just has so much potential that it can give to its teammates, and I mean, Balance is just like, it is the de facto support class. It is like, every school, of course, has its role in the game. You got damage dealers like Storm, Fire, and Myth. You've got tanks like Ice and Death, and of course Death being a damage dealer, because why the hell not? Ratbeard, right? And then Life is the healer. But Balance is just like the best at buff stacking, and that really, really helps Balance's case. And it is just like, people love seeing a Balance in a team, just because, like, A, it can do mass damage because of Power Nova. I mean, look at this card, it's so insane. But B, because it's just so good at buffing. Like Blade Storm, Balance Blade, you know, you got things like Elemental and Spirit Blade, you know, Balance is just very, very good at all this. And I mean, people have definitely caught on, and, well, I mean, they've caught on forever, but Balance is just so good. And yeah, I mean, it's nice to know that there's still a very, very strong support class in the game, and I think that's pretty neat. So that, I think, is going to wrap up that. Not really much else to say about any of these schools, but definitely stay tuned for each school's biggest weakness. That will be coming soon. And yeah, not a whole lot to say on it, but yeah, thank y'all for watching. I've been Ice Gold. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave like 50 comments for the algorithm. My Discord is down in the description if you want to chat with me some more, and I will see y'all later.